Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Taskforce Echo, a StarCraft RPG actual play series. I'm your host and executive producer here, Sensaku, also known as John. And today we're doing something a little bit different. We're short two people for the first hour or so due to work issues, but we're not going to let that stop us. Instead, we're going to do a bit of a overview / look back at the system that we've been playing, since it is a playtest after all, and that's kind of what you do when you playtest things. Sort of give our opinions on it and thoughts as we wait for the rest of our crew to get here before we finish up our story with Taskforce Echo, because we are at the end. So, we'll introduce our characters when we come back from the break after everybody else gets here. For now, I'm John, and with me is William, Aaron, Cody, and Jeremy. And so the first thing we really want to talk about, we're taking this a little bit like the Natch 20 does. I'm just going to guide us through a discussion on the system itself. So if you guys want to take this time to pull up your PDFs, because I haven't done that yet. And while one of you talk, I can pull it up. First thing we really want to do is talk about sort of our this is a very new system. I want to talk, and talk a little bit about our first impressions of the system, just sort of what grabbed us the first time we went through the books and went through the PDFs, and what sort of stood out as compared to other things. And William, you've known the system the longest, so go ahead and give us a little talk, and also please take off that mask.
That mask is actually a little bit uncomfortable, so I will apply.
You don't say.
Honestly, the worse than the heat of the mask is actually the fact that it's a little bit too much plastic on the lower end, so the bottom rim of it just presses against my Adam's apple occasionally.
Just slightly choking.
But other than that, so I don't know if it's something up with my Twitch, but when I try to go to twitch.tv/Senstaku, I end up watching League of Legends.
I don't know why.
Nope, I'm on the Twitch, and
you may have mistyped something.
I'm at
you're smoking crack, dude.
Senstaku, man.
You put Senstaku with a K-O-O instead of K-U?
No, it's a K-U. I guarantee you.
Try it again. Anyways, we are live. There are people in chat. They're saying hi.
I don't know what's up with
technical difficulties.
I don't know what's up with my Twitch. Oh, I just can't look at the chat apparently, so it doesn't matter. But the StarCraft RPG system is something that I sort of ran across while I was looking for games, because I always look for RPG systems for the settings that I enjoy. I would think I was looking for like a more modern Warcraft RPG setting when I came across Leovant's website for his StarCraft RPG campaign, and I was like, hey, we should try this out. So the things that immediately stand out to me as a game designer, like trying to make my own setting into an RPG system, this system is very much, I want to get rid of the multitude of dice rolls that are involved in D&D, but I want to retain that sort of tactical complexity that people like from war games and from the older editions of D&D, like 3.5, which is to say that it does like its floating modifiers and its ways of playing with numbers, but there's no D4, D6, D8, D12. Everything is decided on a D20, and everything is decided with that one roll of the D20 based on what you're looking for. There's no... I mean, I have incorporated these, but there's no real defensive rolls. Everything is against a target number on your opponent, whether it be their defense, their resolve, etc., etc., etc. Everything is a D20 with target numbers based on derived statistics, which is... It sounds like a real simplification. The problem is all the math that is involved with it, which isn't necessarily a problem for people who really enjoy that kind of style of mathematics, people who are very simulationist players. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, which is why I've made a couple of modifications to make it a little bit more narratively themed and make it a little bit simpler for the non-simulationist player. But if you are that kind of simulationist player who wants to crunch numbers and sort of be tactically efficient, this is definitely a very good system for that. But I'm rambling, so let's get other people's first impressions on it.
Cody, you're quiet.
I am always quiet. A big thing is the math. It can be fun, but sometimes it can get a little. It adds up really quick, and you have to be able to keep track of your modifiers and know what goes with what. But overall, it's been a pretty fun game. And this is the second system, which is it's really simple, just with the D20 and not having to worry about the other dice. Knowing that when you hit something, you don't have to roll to see how much damage you do. You know exactly how much you do. The only thing you have to add is things from talents and statistics that you have. Yeah, I don't talk about games as much.
That's fine.
So, yeah.
Jeremy?
So my initial thought when I looked at it was a couple things actually I want to say before. This is 100% not my style of system. I'm not a simulationist. I am much more interested in story than system. That's always been the case with me. Going into it initially, I looked and there were things that I really liked about it, and there were things that I liked a little bit less. I like that it took that simulation, it put it in a way that works as well as possible for somebody who is not into it. So it frames it in essentially a sort of Dungeons and Dragons system framework, and then makes the changes from there. So that was something that I found was a smart move, instead of just going, okay, this is exactly what's going to work best. We're going to do all of this ridiculous complexity because that's what we're interested in. So that was sort of actually my first impression, was like, okay, this is super complex, but I like that they put it within a framework that most role-playing game players are at least going to be familiar with. So there's at least an entry point.
All right. And our resident professional game designer, Aaron?
Professional is a stretch. Game designer is accurate. Well, one of the first things that struck me about the game, and this may have been partly because of how I built
And Aaron's connection
my character, your intelligence stat when building.
You're back.
Sorry,
It's okay.
Your intelligence stat, at least when you're building a character, actually determines how quickly your character grows, which I thought was really not necessarily unique to this system, but kind of unusual, not in a good or bad way, but a very notable element to the system. For those who were paying attention to all of our statsy stuff, your character's intelligence stat essentially determined how many points you got to put into your skills, or how quickly your skills could accrue, which was created some interesting dynamics because a higher intelligence led to that sort of quicker growth of other things, which is a nice way to benefit a stat that might end up being used less in a let's say combat-oriented, tactics-oriented system or setting, as we've sort of already commented on a few times. I think my other takeaway is sort of everything is built using the same parameters and the same formulas. You build the villains the same way you build the heroes, the same way you build all the characters with the same basic building blocks, which is very interesting, but I don't necessarily think that makes it so that anything is playable, and I think the system acknowledges that.
I think it also really quick, it should be noted just for perspective for viewers that Aaron and I, both being very narrative-based players as a rule, went into this not only unfamiliar with the system, but we were completely unfamiliar with the StarCraft universe and StarCraft lore. So we came into this with our focus generally being towards story a little bit more, but not knowing anything about the story.
But I want to note that that's how I've approached a lot of RPGs.
Yes.
That's how I've come into what's the main setting of the D&D stuff?
Faerun, Forgotten Realms.
Yes.
All the
Faerun,
Adventure League stuff.
Eberron, Vampire. Throw out a few more things that RPG veterans are like, oh yeah, I know that setting.
Shadowrun.
Right.
Although I haven't played that one yet.
I come into most of those things with very little experience. This one was a little harder to come to. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the nature of the setting. Maybe it was
Well, that actually ties very well into
else, but
something I was going to say, which is this system is incredibly dedicated to the setting.
Yes.
Like
yes,
that was the very, very first thing that I noticed while looking and while looking over it initially, and then while creating characters and everything, is that most games, and we've sort of proven, we here at Final Show Films like to prove this by taking systems and removing them from their intended setting, i.e. Shadowrun in a post-apocalyptic world, Mage the Ascension in Harry Potter, things like that. And most systems work just fine if you remove them from their setting. This one doesn't. This system is specifically designed and built around the StarCraft setting, which is good. Which is not a bad thing for a system to be. Most World of Darkness is not designed to be removed from the World of Darkness. It just can be. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what it does is it rewards players who are more familiar with the setting than people who aren't. And in this particular case, the only players, not counting William because he's a storyteller, the only players that were really familiar at all with the setting was me and Jack. And you know that's fine. We had fun and we were able to get a lot out of it, but it does sort of put a limitation on your ability to do certain things and your ability to think certain patterns if you're not aware of it. That on top of the fact that this is a hugely complex game. I like what William said earlier about how it's sort of like, you know, they didn't like the range of dice rolls in D&D, but they did like the complexity of D&D. And so you've got basically a system that's just as, if not more complex than Dungeons and Dragons, but without as many things. And so it creates an interesting dynamic of, while there aren't as many systems within the system, each one is infinitely more complicated than it necessarily needs to be. And it's kind of that's sort of a problem, I think, inherent to a one dice system. Any system where you're rolling 1d20 for everything, that d20 is going to be very important. It's going to have a lot of things attached to it. It's going to be very, very complex, the amount of math that goes into that in order to make that a viable system. It's definitely a mathematician's game. I think that's fair to say.
Yes.
So with that sort of out of the way, let's talk about things that we liked about the system. William.
Honestly, even aside from the math qualities, I do enjoy a lot of math. I'm kind of this like avid all spectrum individual where I generally tend to enjoy many things if they're done well. And I will say the math in this system is done well. I do enjoy my narrative, but I do also enjoy the mathematical approach. And the math in the system is done well once you can get past it, once you can like read the terminology properly. I will say the thing that I do very much enjoy out of all of it was their very strong, and honestly it worked fairly well, grasp on making the three races play differently. Mm-hmm. Each of them has a different way of building their characters, has a different way of using equipment or growing. Each of them has a different currency system. Each of them has their own basically play style. It's sort of like putting in a World of Darkness terms. It's sort of like putting a werewolf next to a vampire next to a mage. In that all three of them are still using the same core rule set, but they're all playing the game very, very differently.
Yeah. That's fair to say. Cody.
I liked how, even though I knew absolutely nothing, well, no, that's not true. I knew that in StarCraft there were Terran, Zerg, and Protoss. That's all I knew. I was still able to make a character that I got a feel of how they should act in a world like this. My character was Emojin, so I picked them picked that race because when I was reading through the description, they kind of laid out a character that I normally go to when I don't know anything about a game, which is kind of roguish. They'll do stuff for money. And they try to do that. So that it was really easy for me to latch onto that and then go from there. And so that's where I came up with a pilot that he explores and tries to go find weird stuff so that he can take it back home and sell it. And then that tied in nicely with, opening up to our campaign. And the weapon rules were pretty nice. They were simple, and it lets you know what you're going to be able to do with each thing. And you didn't have to rely on... crap, I forgot where I was going with this.
Luck of the roll?
Yeah. You could specialize in one thing so that even if you did roll poorly, there was still a chance that you'd be able to help at least.
Yeah, we've had some bad rolls that still succeeded or did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And also later on learning that you can duct tape a second barrel to a sniper rifle.
Exactly. I could have gone further and put a third one on and just started rotating it and then
just get a Gatling sniper. Just
yeah.
Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, I think after one session we joked that I could theoretically, if I had saved up enough money and we'd gone far enough, I could build a sniper rifle where I'd be able to shoot at a starship, and eventually, as long as I didn't get hit by the starship, I'd win. But yeah.
Asterisk.
Yeah.
I mean, then the starship crashes on you, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Asterisk, assuming the starship doesn't go, oh, hey, there's a sniper, turbo lasers.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy.
So I will agree with that. One of the things that I hate about some role-playing game systems is that everything is decided on... everything about your character creation is decided on dice rolling. I don't like that. I like being able to build my character the way that I want to build it. I started getting back into D&D when they moved away from insistence on random dice rolls for your stats and started introducing things like point buys and stuff like that. That being said, I still roll my stats in D&D, but there's nets in place. There are nets in place now that are official that Wizards of the Coast picked up from what players did because they got tired of having a bunch of substandard stats. So I really enjoyed that. I think me and John are the only two people who created two characters for the game.
Two.
So I probably did it in the opposite order of what I should have. I created the social, very setting-based character first, and then the stupid run in and shoot people person second. I probably should have done that in the opposite order, considering my familiarity with the system. But I really like that the source book did a good job. I think there was still room for improvement, but a good job of laying out what is, like everything Blizzard does, a very extensive, very detailed history, and setting information. So after reading that, I did a little reading of the wiki. It's the StarCraft wiki as well, but I at least had a general sense of what what kind of world I was creating my character for. That if you had brushed over too much or spent too long detailing out everything, that would have very easily been lost, and I would have had no idea where to start. That I really enjoyed. I enjoy the setting as a whole. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay. Aaron.
That came out sounding worse than it meant to. But
That's all that I like about this system. That's everything. Everything else is garbage.
Things you like.
So, well, obviously, like anything in the system, there's still opportunities to tune it. I really like at least the foundations of the medical system. The way, as the person who tends to pick medic, and heal spam, it's a very interesting system for a more realism gritty setting. The way wound thresholds are handled feels generous enough, but also there's a risk there. And I also liked that if you really want to have a dedicated medic, they can be refilling like half of your health bar with each of those. Once again, making those limited healing thresholds feel a little more generous.
Yep.
So yeah, I really liked the way that was put together. And I like like was already sort of said, I like the way the setting was laid out, particularly in the flavor text for things like the sub races.
Okay. Anything else, or is that it?
Those are the things I really wanted to cover.
Okay. So for me, I did the thing that I do whenever I'm playtesting something, and I said, what's the weirdest shit I can do? And how can I break this? I'm the stress tester of the group. And so obviously the first thing you do is you go for, well, what's the most powerful thing physically that you can do? And that's a Zerg. And so I started, my objective was to build a really powerful Zerg and see how far it would go. And then after a little bit of ways to do it, I switched over to a Protoss. If I was playing a character that I really would have liked to play, probably would have been a Terran. But I enjoy the differences between the distinct differences between each race. So we did one sort of a one-shot playtest previously, and I have now played I have played 3 of the 4 player options in the game. I have played a Terran, I have played a Zerg, a Primal Zerg, and I have played a Protoss. I haven't played an Infested Terran yet, so I'm not sure about those. But each race feels distinct, both thematically and mechanically distinct. There is your object and sort of the way that these characters are built mechanically informs how you would play them. Just as an example, Terrans build all their stuff with money, so that's sort of their goal, is to make money. That you have this inherent goal in a character based on how they progress. Terrans progress through money, Zerg progress by eating things, and Protoss progress by doing deeds of glory and honor. So you have these mechanical incentives that then turn into role-playing incentives, and I think that, in particular, is a very clever way of designing a character. In D&D, there's no real, you can pick a mechanical incentive if you want, but there's not really anything inherently built in for any character based on their race, class, whatever, that tells you what they want. Because in D&D, you're making a unique individual that just so happens to be this, that, and that. But in the StarCraft universe as a whole, there are certain racial drives that all the 3 races have, that is represented story-wise, and in this system represented mechanically, which I like. One thing that I really, whenever I do reviews, I always talk about how flavor falls in line with mechanics. And in this particular instance, the flavor of the setting really falls in line with the mechanics of the races, what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that, just from a perspective of somebody who is familiar with the setting and does enjoy the setting and also enjoys building characters in these settings. There are some other things that I like, but I think mostly they've been covered, and anything else would be sort of a small nitpicky thing. So, let's talk about things we don't like about the setting, and please keep it to minimum of 1 paragraph.
Yes.
Minimum of 1 paragraph or maximum of 1 paragraph?
Maximum. Of 1
I heard
paragraph,
minimum,
sorry.
so I'm
maximum
going.
of
No,
1
I'm.
paragraph.
No.
For Jeremy only. William.
All right. So I mentioned we're talking about stuff that I like. That I do enjoy the math and the numbers and the playing with the mechanics. I don't necessarily enjoy being forced to do that. Because there's a lot of in the system where your character is less efficient if you're not making complete use of the setting of the system as a whole. If you are not using the morale system to take advantage of things, if you are not using the aim system, if you are not using XYZ part of the game, your character becomes dramatically less efficient. Unless you are making full use of everything the game has to offer, you find yourself kind of handicapped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily fond of that. I am, and this is obviously a difference of design philosophy between me and Leovant, I am more of the individual who believes that if I want to make a unique, powerful thing, instead of making it numerically superior, I would make it do something unique. I am more of an abilities over numbers.
Your microphone cut.
But that's,
In volume, specifically. Wiggle the cable.
hello.
There you are. I think you're back.
Here.
Nope.
Okay.
Still out.
Nope. You're still quiet.
Yeah, still quiet.
Let me just turn the gain up.
It fixed itself. As you leaned
don't
in,
know-
it fixed.
I don't know what I did.
Neither do we.
You moved six
You were
inches
talking for
closer.
too long, and it decided you must not be talking
A
anymore.
butterfly in Hawaii flapped its wings.
Okay, so what did you guys miss?
No, we didn't
No,
miss anything.
we-
You just got really quiet.
Okay.
We just said that the second you said.
Okay, but yeah, I am very much a sort of, if I want to make something powerful or unique, I give it a new ability rather than higher numbers, which is a different way of, it's a different style of mechanical creation than Leovant's, and it's not necessarily like one is superior than the other, but it's definitely something that I'm not necessarily a fan of, is the idea that to be better at something, your numbers have to be bigger rather than you just have to be able to do it a unique way.
It's the 5th edition D&D philosophy versus the 3.5 D&D philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, both are fun systems that I enjoy playing, but I am definitely much more on the 5th edition philosophy side of the table.
Yep. All right. Cody.
I didn't like that I didn't like that the talents that you could get were focused almost exclusively for combat. Like we all talked about how we like story type gameplay, and when all your talents and the special things you can do are restricted to combat only, it can be fun because it means in combat you can do some pretty awesome things. But other than that, you're just like everybody else. You can't do anything. You have just as good a chance to try to persuade somebody as the person that is a legit smooth talker. And they've made a character that's supposed to be a smooth talker or super intimidating. They don't get any bonuses other than what they put into, I believe, influence that they might have.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, I don't talk a whole lot. I'll go talk to them and try to do the thing, and they just do awesome at it, just because they rolled higher than the person that actually put points into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the fact that there's no social or anything to engage you to role play more outside of combat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Jeremy?
All right. I will agree with that, by the way. I will say there is a reason that I went from Stefan to Dirk.
Yeah.
There was very little I could do effectively with Stefan, even though I feel like my initial confusion regarding the system aside, I feel like he was a well-built character that I could do very little with.
I would love to see Stefan in like a D&D setting in like Grand Terra.
Oh yeah, no, there is a version of that character that I would love to play. There was a version of that character. He's actually based on a Werewolf the Apocalypse character that I made, who had almost identical background, just tweaked for Gaia versus Dominion. And I feel like he was one of my favorite characters that I ever played in Werewolf. My issues with it, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to get too much on the the math of it all, because that is 100% not my thing, and so I'm definitely not the person to talk about that. My concerns were, my biggest problem with the game was with the system cards were twofold.
Phone going off.
The first part of it, and I realize that a lot of games may not necessarily be built around this possibility, but the fact that we had Terrans, Zerg, and Protoss in it, those three races are not balanced together in a really, really big way. So that was a problem that I saw in it, that a lot of us were playing Terrans, and we would sit there and we would do our thing. And yes, again, there was some misunderstanding on how many points we actually had and things like that. That resolved that to a degree. But it would still be like, all right, we go in and we do this, and then all of a sudden the psychic stuff comes out, or the Zerg destroy everything stuff comes out, or whatever the case may be, and we'd be like, well, I'm glad we were here to see this, because that was about all that we did. So I had concerns about that, and particularly, I think this is a bigger one. Is that this game, at least from what I've seen, we're at level 10 out of how many levels does this game have?
30.
And power creep is a thing. And power creep is a big thing in this point. Because it's like Cody said about, at some point, purely mechanically, which is what this system leans heavily on, a person with a gun can probably go one-on-one with a starship and win because the mechanics say that it does. I don't imagine how if it continues advancing the way that it currently does, the power levels are going to get ridiculous. And that is something that is difficult to try, to be fair, and difficult to quantify until you have playtesters and until you have people playing at the maximum levels, which doesn't happen a lot. But that is something that as we advanced in level, I kept seeing as like, we're level 5 out of 30, and we're able to do this much? Jesus Christ. So those, I think, were my two biggest concerns about the game, or things that I had issues with.
Aaron?
So a lot of what I wanted to talk about was touched on: power creep, thematic. I think the two things that remain are the game is very thematic in a way that's appropriate to the setting, but sometimes it feels like in being so appropriate to the setting, it's hard for characters to have individual themes. It feels like it pushes the Terrans to all be thematically similar, and it pushes the Protoss to be all thematically similar. And we had characters that pushed against this. Vazran was very unusual in terms of her approach to honor and her approach to the things that are mechanically incentivized in the system. Ava and Stefan were polar opposites of the Terran spectrum, but it still felt like there was this, and perhaps it's the combat orientation that ends up doing this, perhaps not. That's a thing I'd poke at. um, sort of ends up creating this dynamic where the flavor almost is very good, but I wonder if it sometimes overwhelms individual narrative. And then the second thing that I did want to briefly comment on was the ways characters are able to interact are not. I love systems that allow people to feel clever or find unusual bits of the mechanics that they can use in interesting ways. The flying rogue that stands above the target so that they can always be smashing with someone in melee. That's cool to me. I like that sort of thing. But I think that to some extent, for those depth versus complexity, casual versus core, there's a whole pile of game design theory here. But sort of on a very surface level, it feels like there's so much mechanics that you have to get really deep into the numbers in order to do clever, interesting things with those numbers. And that can be really confusing, not just for your GM, but for your other players. If one person's like, ooh, I found this cool thing I can do. Because there's so many rules and there's so many subsets of the rules. That it can start to feel unbalanced simply on that experience with the game level. Which is not necessarily all bad. It creates a lot of interesting things. But depth doesn't need to be buried so deep, is what I'd say with that.
So for me, I'm gonna go on a bit on a talk about the mechanical structure of certain aspects of the game, particularly. We were talking a little bit about earlier about how a lot of the talents are focused on combat, and as is a lot of the gears. But interestingly enough, one of the things that has almost absolutely no bearing on combat whatsoever is your character. You can completely remove any player from their gear and have that gear fire autonomously, and it will do just as good at firing autonomously as it would if it was being held or wielded by a character. And the reason for this is because the way combat works in the system is you have two skills that basically function over the entirety of combat: ranged and melee. And you add your ranged or melee skill to the accuracy of your weapon, plus an accuracy bonus that you get depending on how quick or slow the weapon is. And that's what you roll in addition to hit. With some characters that can take a minute to aim, have a scope, and have a couple of talents to back them up, they can get a plus 27 to hit people. For another person whose entire focus is to be an upfront melee tank coming in and trying to punch you in the face, they can have a plus 5. Because the amount of physicality that you have, whether it be how strong you are, how dexterous you are, how quick-witted you are, anything like that, has no bearing on how well you attack someone in combat. Tertiarily, there are some things that your attributes contribute to. Some of your attributes do contribute to the max amount of overages you can get on damages. So if you roll over the defense of an enemy, then the number by which you roll over compared to a stat increases the damage that you can deal. And intelligence, I think we touched on earlier, determines your skills. So if you have a higher intelligence, you can put more skill points in melee or ranged. But what this ends up being is a person with a high intelligence and who is basically physically crippled can be better at hitting somebody with a sword than a person who is Adonis physically but dumb as a rock. Which doesn't make any sense narratively. There's a certain mechanical sense that it makes in that you want you want your combat to be as autonomous as possible, so you don't want it to be like, you don't want it to be like so and so has really good stats, therefore they're great at doing everything, which is fair because your stats do influence the rest of your skills. But there are points where a character who has trained for 1,000 years with a melee with this sword and has all the muscle memory and strength and agility that you need to wield a sword, because, by the way, as someone who does wield a sword on a regular basis for theatrical purposes, it takes a good amount of strength and agility to accurately and actively wield a weapon. It's not. Yep. It's not. It's like a lot of people say it doesn't matter how hard you swing the sword. It's how precise you are with it. BS. You have to be strong and dexterous. Realistic. If D&D were to be realistic, it'd take a combination of your strength and dexterity to hit things. But anyways, removing your character's physicality from their combat makes it kind of feel like, what's the point in having stats? What is the point in having a 7 strength if that means nothing except for when I hit them? Because if you're not hitting them, then it doesn't matter. So that is I think is probably my number one issue at the game, is that your character themselves has so little to do with combat, aside from the fact that they're there.
Yeah.
So.
Which I want to say, I think might be compounded by the issue the game is very combat focused and combat oriented.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of weapons in the storyteller system also are kind of autonomous-y. I understand there's skill to them, but
in the storyteller system, damage is at least based off of your character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with the exception of ranged weapons.
Yeah, with the exception of guns.
Okay.
Even those do, because the number of successes that you get on ranged weapons add to your damage roll. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But that is a system where often when you're using the kinds of weapons where it doesn't have much impact, you may not be fighting very often.
Yeah.
I think the frequency of combat might be why we're bringing up stuff about the feel of that aspect in relation to characterization.
Yeah, and the game, as we've all said previously, the game incentivizes combat over everything else. I'm sure it's possible to make an entirely social campaign in this setting. It's just that the mechanics don't incentivize that. So we've talked about things we like, we've talked about things we don't like, we've talked about our first impressions. Now, at the end of this trail, at the end of this playtest, basically, what are some things that we feel like we've learned from the beginning to the end, and how would you improve the system going forward? Like, if let's say you were in charge of 3.0 version 3.0 of this, what would be something that you would require to be changed or to be added? Starting with William.
So I'm going to make the caveat of, I'm assuming I'm writing this from the same simulationist perspective that Leovant is, because I don't want to just say I would change it to 5th edition D&D.
Yeah, right.
That would...
without drastically altering the purpose
the direction of the game.
Yeah.
I would run StarCraft under storyteller system.
Yeah. But to definitely to make improvements on the metric and the skeleton that has been created with these 2 editions, definitely I feel that if you're going to make a system where all of the dice, everything is determined by 1 d20 roll, that takes away a little bit of interactivity between enemies. It's sort of I'm going to try and hit your number. The only way you can interact with that is by raising your number. You don't have anything to do with me hitting you.
Yeah.
So the way that one of the ways that I would definitely improve this is if you're going to work with that kind of play style, the numbers themselves need to feel more impactful. So they need to be smaller but more important, in my opinion. So to me, it's like you've only got a handful of ways to increase your numbers, but your defense is also relatively not as drastically high. It's sort of, I always bring this up a lot when I'm talking about D&D 3.5. Numbers get stupidly big. In D&D 3.5, levels 1 through 10, a skill bonus will probably be anywhere from +5 to +15. Levels 10 to 20 of D&D 3.5 go from +20 to +45 to 50 to 60 skill bonuses.
Legit.
We had a character in Pathfinder, which is based on 3.5, that had an AC of 97.
Something like that.
Austin.
No,
that
Holly.
was Holly.
Oh. I was gonna say that's usually an Austin thing.
Holly.
No, Austin builds like I build. Austin builds suboptimal funny.
But makes it broken.
But
but
makes it broken.
Austin.
Holly's just terrifying.
Austin was GMing. That's.
Oh, okay. And that's the thing is, he doesn't try, but he still does. I figured that's what it was. And
passively
he like
does.
fell into an AC of 90-some.
But yeah, so the way that I would definitely make the improvement for a new edition would definitely be to crunch the numbers down so that there's less of them, but they're more impactful. That way, it's easier to grok the numbers and understand what they do, but it also gives you a better grasp on, okay, this is how much better I'm making myself. One increment means that I have this much better chance of hitting someone. So if all the numbers are smaller and I can grok them easier, I can go, okay, it's so much easier for me to comprehend. If I do this and this, I'm gonna make my attack that much more effective. It's less of how do I get from my +5 to a +30 to how do I get from a +5 to a +8, because that's all I need.
The only caveat there being that making the numbers smaller inherently requires the dice get smaller as well. Because small numbers on a d20 still has, especially like if your defense is 5, even if you have no bonuses to a d20, that's still really...
I just want to give a quick interjection. It doesn't necessarily necessitate that the dice become smaller. What it does mean is that your randomness has a larger impact.
Yeah.
You can mitigate that by changing your dice to be a smaller one.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But that's probably my biggest thing is the numbers need to be more easy to comprehend. Because the biggest thing that this game has against it is I use a very familiar Dark Souls term, a learning wall.
Yeah.
If you can break through that wall and get your
hi,
head
Ornstein.
in,
How you doing?
if you can break through that learning wall and get your head into the game, suddenly everything makes sense and you're just becoming this god of the setting as you just suddenly learn to manipulate all the numbers. But until you've broken through that learning wall, you're just like, I don't cracking head against wall right now.
Ornstein and Smo.
Which is why we moved it from Ornstein and Smo to William, what's the first boss in Dark Souls 3?
Oh no,
Vort of the Boreal Valley.
No, the training boss.
Vort does not count. Vort is not a particularly well-designed example. Gundyr. Which is why we moved it from Smo to Gundyr by the third game.
Yep. And
yeah,
Cody,
that's my thing.
Cody, one thing you'd improve.
One thing you actually could improve is making mechanics, since they're so important in this game, like your mechanical numbers, incentivize you towards exploring and interacting with the setting. Like we've had a spaceship this whole time, and we've only gone from point A to point B. But other than that, it's basically just a tool to transition where we are during that episode. We don't really use it a whole lot. We don't. There's ways that we can use it in the book, but only for like only for combat. There's not a whole lot of incentive to interact with, or anything that would incentivize you to interact with the setting in a social or exploration way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
If I had to pick one thing that I could change, I would change simply the amount of modifiers that you have to deal with. I know this sort of goes again, that's sort of caked into the system because of the style of system that it is. And this is, again, simply because it's not the kind of system that I normally enjoy. But in this case, I feel like just even a small amount, like removing power rating from weapons and doing that differently, because that's super confusing. Or just a couple little changes of lowering out those amount of modifiers that you have to add together would make that aspect of it, the mechanical aspect of it, run a lot smoother. And when that side is running smoother, then the focus, in my experience in gaming, when the mechanics are running smoother, then the lean towards mechanics sort of evens itself out, because you're not spending all of your time looking in books and doing math and doing all that sort of stuff that can bog down gameplay. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would go with.
Yeah, and just sort of to tag in there really quick, I think one of the biggest issues that could be solved by removing modifiers, or at least changing how they work, is attack speed. Because the way the book phrases your attacks is, it says you have a number of attacks equal to or dependent on the speed of the weapon, which doesn't mean you can attack 3 times. It means that you add an accuracy bonus 3 times to your bonus if you're attacking with all 3 of your attacks. But if you attack with less of those attacks, then you add a smaller bonus to it depending on the number of attacks that you use. And just by explaining the system, I explained the problem.
Yeah.
Aaron?
So you guys tell the game designer, change one thing. And I'm like, I would want to test things out, and I would want to throw things at the board, and I would want to change things one at a time and like see how it works and understand themes better. I'm not the person to ask this, but my umbrella answer, understanding that I don't know how this would work or the ramifications of it, is that I would find, I would try and expand the, not necessarily the viability of non-combat entirely, but the roles not combat-oriented character plays, particularly in the context of combat, and giving them systems that support their primary function too. Medic is pretty well developed in the current version of the game, but if you had a more explorer-focused not Pathfinder system, Pathfinder in terms of
what the
explore,
person who finds paths.
Person who finds paths, which is apparently a StarCraft thing, I think. Character, they could maybe identify enemy weaknesses during the fight or something, and giving more of those support roles both mechanics for their primary function and mechanics for their combat function might really help. Because if we're going back to that Dark Souls metaphor, a lot of people smack their head into Ornstein's mouth, but just as many people are like, I'm going to try and jump off here. I'm going to try and jump off here. And I wonder what happens if I go and fight that dragon with a whole bunch of arrows because he can't hit me because I'm in this little glitched part of the ledge. And, oh, hey, that guy only goes so far. Now I have Havel's ring. I don't know how much of that translates out of Dark Souls, but like letting some of that variant playstyle be unique, if mechanically inferior, might let other players sort of experiment within the system. Or at least that would be the intent of the change. I don't know how that would actually work. Definitive, this is the answer to your problems are always a little challenging for me.
And that's not quite what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is things that you would like to, and that's actually a perfect thing. Is like, what would you like to try?
In a new iteration of the system.
Yeah.
This is a sort of area that I could see expanding, changing.
Right.
Yeah.
That would perhaps alleviate some of the struggles of the current version of the system.
Yeah, that's a perfectly fine answer. For me, I'm gonna piggyback a little bit on what Cody said and sort of expand it out. The setting is sci-fi. The setting is space western.
Yeah.
But there's surprisingly little support. Like there are mechanics for ships in the game, but there's surprisingly little support for incentivizing that element. When you think space western, you think Serenity. You think Cowboy Bebop for the anime fans out there. You think Red Dwarf for the comedy fans out there. Like
Space Dandy,
like Outlaw Star, where these shows and these stories, the Culture series of novels, these things where the being in the universe and being a part of it is as much part of the story as going from A to B. A lot of the time we use the ship. We're going to Unity Station. Vroom, an hour later, we're there. Okay, we're going to this other planet. Vroom, 3 hours later, in-game, we're there. I would scale back a lot of the importance that they've placed on the unit-to-unit interactions and some of the ground-based interactions, and scale up the importance of being in space. The system I could closest relate that concept to would be the Traveler system. For those of you who don't know what Traveler is a sci-fi setting in which the journey is the point of the game. And it's sort of like just what Cody was saying, where in Traveler, you have to take care of your ship. It takes you weeks to get from anywhere, and during those weeks, you have to maintain your ship, make sure everything's running functionally, make sure that the engine doesn't break down. Also, you're in a tin can in space with 5 other people for 2 weeks. How do you interact? Who starts to smell first? Who takes control of the bathroom? Who cuts off the sweets from the rest of the crew? Like, there are these little bitty social moments that have nothing to do mechanically that could be highlighted in a setting that would make no matter how familiar you are with the StarCraft setting, everyone can enjoy those moments.
Yeah.
Like, everyone could enjoy, all right, you're traveling from point A to point B for about 4 weeks, and one of you hasn't taken a bath in 3 days. Go. Regardless of what setting, that is rife with some entertaining stuff, as well as some other smelly stuff. And I feel like that is a huge opportunity that this system could take that wouldn't remove anything from anybody and would just make it better. So we have a couple folks incoming. We're gonna go ahead and take a break. I think we've sort of summed up our thoughts fairly succinctly. I think we are gonna take a break, quick 10-minute break, and we'll be back with the actual story, with the actual gameplay part of this stream. So go ahead and go stretch your legs, get a drink, do whatever. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Bye bye. And we're back. And look, there's somebody below me. Jack, you're below me.
All
I'm
right.
not gonna below you.
No.
You have to
It's
at least
up
buy me
again.
dinner first.
All right.
Well,
so
tell me what the rates are like out in California, and we'll see.
All right, so I am William, and I am your storyteller for this StarCraft RPG playtest. Let us begin by introducing our characters, starting with John.
Hello, I'm John, and I'm playing Vazaron, the Tal'Darim Pirate Queen.
And then moving to Jack.
Hey everybody, I'm Jack, and I'm playing Koronix, the Nerazim Protoss Scholar.
And moving to Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm playing Dirk Garrick, and he's dumb.
And moving to Cody.
There.
I'm playing Oswald Ridley, the Terran pilot.
And moving to Aaron.
Hi, I'm Erin, and I'll be playing Ava Sweet, the Terran medic trader.
Yep.
It's
And
the final
Sarah-
episode. I have to get it right.
And Sarah's still not with us right now. We've delayed as long as we can. If Sarah gets here, we will bring her in. But for right now, I'll be assuming control of that.
Assume
Go.
control.
So, when last we left our heroes, as that is officially what you are at this point in time, they had broken into the final Black Site, Black Site 1, as Black Site 2 was being bombarded from space by the full might of the Dominion fleet. The group of you had infiltrated the first Black Site to find Alexander Ravenhall, get him and Theodore out alive, and destroy the facility, hopefully taking Rasputin with you. And
Like in a carry-on bag?
in a body
I got
bag,
it, don't
preferably.
worry.
In a bucket. Okay, in a bucket. Gotcha.
I don't have a bucket.
I suddenly realized I didn't level up.
Level up. All of you level up to 10 if you haven't already while I'm doing this intro.
I
Okay.
did.
I
Okay.
did. I don't know what to do.
I'm
my
sorry, I
part.
was busy. I was busy putting together a 24-hour stream. Which, by the way, if you tune in on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we're gonna be doing a 24-hour stream, and I'm gonna be killing myself over the course of it.
Technically, I have 5 more hit points.
So.
2 all-nighters in a row, you'll be fine. Trust the college student.
You infiltrated Black Site 1 and bursting through the bottom floors with a siege tank, you made your way up to some of the more middle floors closer to where the drive core is, and you made your way into the drive core to find that Alexander Ravenhall, presumably one of the first members to successfully activate the K gene, the Kerrigan gene, that is what gives human psionics the massive psionic potential that individuals like Nova Terra and Sarah Kerrigan have, is chained into this facility, being used as a power core to sort of power the facility. Pulling him out of those restraints and unshackling him from the facility's power supply, the ship went into emergency power, and Alexander Ravenhall began to, after taking his signature sidearm back from the group, began to blast his way through the walls of the facility in pursuit of Rasputin. On your way following him, you began to be approached by the psionic, shall we say, creations of Project K. Some of these powerful sounding entities, not quite as powerful as Kerrigan or Nova Terra or Alexander Ravenhall, but still dangerous psionics in their own right, began to approach, during which the 2 ancient Protoss that you had brought with you, Savasan and Verasan, Savasan also being known, hey, we have a Sarah.
Hey,
Hi.
I have to fix everything.
Keep talking, William.
There,
You're doing
I
great.
fixed it.
Savasan also being
How did I know that would be my greeting?
Savasan, unknown to the group of you, also being known as Kas, the founder of the Kala, one of the most important Protoss in history, said his goodbye to the world as he had lived far beyond his era, and joined with Verasan to form an Archon, a powerful being of psionic energy, to stave off these psionic agents approaching you. As you leave him behind in pursuit of Alexander Ravenhall deeper into the facility, and he joins battle with these psionic individuals, you continue moving. And that's where we pick up, as you chase the fleeting figure of Alexander Ravenhall deeper through these walls, as he bursts them down with power as he charges forward, flying like a madman.
Which he very well might be.
Yeah, this isn't going to go terribly.
It's true. He might be.
Not at all. That's me. That's not Dirk. Dirk's.
And I believe we're all following after it.
All right, as you are sprinting on, you and Task Force Renegade making your way through, all of you. There's a brief moment where up ahead you can see Alexander stops and looks around, and you can all those of you who are psychic, and even some of those of you who are not, who are just a little bit more mentally inclined, which is to say,
Everybody but Dirk.
everybody but Dirk and
Yeah.
maybe Rachel, can sense this pain, this wave of sorrow, this regret and sadness radiating from Alexander as he looks around, like taking in something horrific. And then it is immediately subsumed again by that all-consuming anger and hate. I almost said hanger.
He's very
Hanger
Very
happens.
hangry.
He is the
As-
hangriest.
Not
As-
enough sandwiches.
As he continues bursting through these walls with a renewed rage. As you catch up to that point where he had stopped, you enter what appears to be a science bay. You see, in this room, there are tossed about individuals in medical garb, scientists that appear to have either been killed or knocked unconscious by his passing. And 2 tables and a holding cell. Upon the 2 tables are a pair of small shapes covered in cloth.
Oh shit.
In the holding facility, you hear a muffled cry and fists pounding on metal.
Dirk stops, looks around, kind of gapes. Well, this is just fuckered as hell.
I'm trying to telekinetically sense for what's his face?
Alexander or Rasputin?
Theodore?
Rasputin.
You know he's here. You know that Alexander is rushing toward him. You can't feel his presence in this room specifically,
Oh, I thought Alexander had
but you
stopped.
know he's somewhere.
Oh.
Alexander stopped, looked around, was sad for a minute, then got even angrier and continued flying on.
Oh, then I'm following him still.
Oh.
Oh, well then,
We
Stops, says that, and then keeps going.
None of you are going to stop to look at what's in this room.
Is that the thing? You like
I
does your
might
hand stay perfectly
admit that.
still while the body moves?
Sort of, yes. And you know that Schwarzenegger Rambo expression of like the sneer, sort of
Yep,
open mouth gape? Yeah. Dirk, sadly, as curious as I am, is not smart enough to think.
Ava is going
Something
to
in this
stop
room might
and
be
start trying to very quickly investigate. Because, hey, medical tables, it's kind of her thing.
Oswald is too. He's going to the door that he hears pounding on the other side of.
All right, so the door you see is not stasis. It's a holding cell. It's meant to keep someone still while they get ready for doing something with it. It's locked. There's a window, and on the inside you can see a small child pounding on the metal and making muffled screaming noises.
Hey,
It's locked,
Theodore.
so yeah, it definitely won't open. I found somebody.
Does this match the description we have of Theodore? That's a good question.
From what you can see through the glass, it does.
Hmm.
But Ava, as you lift the sheets from the tables, you find 2 small children dead with surgical incisions across their chest and several parts of their head where it looks like skull pieces have been removed.
Do they also look like Teddy?
No. It's a small boy and girl, no more than 10, maybe 11 years old.
Do they match the
Okay.
descriptions of Ravenhall's children, given that I have their childhood medical records?
Not only do they match their descriptions, the small tag on each of their toes has their name.
Okay.
These do indeed appear to be the children of Alexander Ravenhall, Rojas, and Alexis.
Well, bad news, Morty. Can't fix death.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
It got dark real
Toby,
fast.
that scene has been
exactly the
broken.
expression that Ava has on her
Well,
face.
that escalated quickly.
Coronix grows very solemn at this and then steps over. What is Teddy restrained behind?
It's literally almost like a blast door. It's sort of like a conical cylinder holding facility that's just a metal shield.
Okay.
So
So very slowly just pushes the tip of the Psy Spear in and starts carving away.
And you notice on the inside he backs away as you begin to carve.
Good.
through.
Okay.
You
That's what I
carve
was
it.
pushing for.
You carve a circle out of the door, and as the metal falls free, he runs out and hits the ground. Thank you.
Rachel Harmon.
Yes, I'm here.
Just points at the kid on the floor.
And it is Teddy.
Oh. Alright, I take out my pistol and I shoot him.
Okay, let me rephrase. That escalated quickly.
I just want to clarify: are Dirk and I the only ones that followed after Ravenhall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Dirk's not here for this.
No.
So, Ava, Oswald, and Cornix, you watch as Rachel reaches onto the waist of the fire bat armor and just one shot, and the child falls limp.
Are you done with your diversions? We need to get going.
Cornix blinks and then takes off after Ravenhall. This
Don't-
will be addressed later.
Don't care. Moving on.
Can't fix
Yeah.
death, Morty.
Yep.
Oh, Rachel is the best.
Rachel goes over to him and pats him down.
Whatever you were looking
Does she
for,
find anything on him?
you find a note and a couple of credits and whatever you were looking for on him.
Yep.
Does the note say tag you're
Okay,
it?
what does the note say?
The note is what appears to be a sort of a meeting location that you imagine is probably the place where he got picked up.
Okay. Alright, I follow after.
But you do find what you were looking for on him.
Okay.
Well, that just happened.
I can't tranquilize someone in fire bat armor. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gone. I'm not looking.
All right.
I can't see
I
him.
Oswald is
I
still
told
standing
him
there.
Cornix as soon as the order was given.
So the group of you continue on. As you're going, you can feel more of those powerful psionic presences approaching you. And almost wordlessly, the rest of Task Force Renegade looks around as they almost seem to feel it themselves, and there's just a silent nod from each of them to you as a sort of, we know how this ends. Get going. And they begin to break off one by one to intercept each of these psionic signatures that you can sense. Leaving
The
only you.
context is totally lost on Dirk, who has no idea how this ends.
Leaving only you, the new Task Force Echo, to follow behind Alexander Ravenhall.
I've been following.
Yep, we're both still.
Like
Look
Roscoe
at
and
it.
Dirk didn't even slow down.
Oswald is last in line.
I just want to say, total side note. Can you imagine how this last episode would have ended if we still had Stefan and Coraline?
Oh,
We
well,
would
that's
have
too
made it
bad.
off the ship, but whatever.
The ship we would have just detonated the ship into the black side.
Yeah, we would have dragged Oswald away from the controls, loaded it up with dynamite, listened to whatever her name was complain, and blown up the ship.
And as you follow him, he breaks through one final door, and he is standing there, hovering in the air, face to face with the tall, thin, heavily bearded visage of the individual that you've seen twice, maybe 3 times throughout the course of this adventure. His arms just folded behind his back almost expectantly as he stands across a desk from the group of you in the room. Well, I
Can't go
see
bad.
that you've all arrived. Welcome to the black site as you all file into the room. I see you are here. You want to kill me, yes?
Can I sense whether that's actually him or like a projection of him?
You can feel the presence of his mind. It is imposing. Just the sheer act of being in this room with him is like he is pressing his will upon you.
Okay, then.
I shoot him.
I mean, yeah.
That's what we were gonna do.
All right, so Dirk and Rachel, you both open fire with a flamer and with a Gauss rifle, and as you do,
Shotgun.
with a shotgun. He doesn't even lift a hand, but tendrils of wires and cabling and metal burst out through the ground, intercepting in a barrier that crosses in front of him, taking the brunt of the flame and the shotgun blast. As he just stands there, his arms folded behind his back. Well, I wouldn't be the man that I am if I were to simply curl up and die.
Yeah, shoot again.
You fire again, and this tendril of metal launches into the way. And then you see them beginning to coalesce and form together.
I use feedback on him.
I'm reloading.
Roll me a sonic check.
Watch this shit. Watch me get a natural 1.
Yeah.
We will watch. We will watch it happen.
And I would laugh.
25.
That manifests. Let me read up on feedback.
So he has to make a psionic manifestation roll. Let me pull it up right here real quick. As I just sort of stare at him like, very impressive, and then feedback. Let's see. Feedback, here it is. It's currently, because it's part of my thing.
So there's the sound of a microphone being held in front of a speaker.
First,
That's me turning my fan around. Sorry.
I have to. I have to.
No,
Make
you're making a joke on the word
I
feedback.
have to make a psionic attack versus their resolve. If I successfully manifest it, so let's roll that again. $31. Does that hit his resolve?
Better.
I'll say yes.
Okay. Then he needs to he needs to make an immediate psionic skill test, and he takes an amount of psionic damage equal to that skill test result, functioning as an overload result, and is drained of mental energy, gaining an amount of energy fatigue equal to the damage dealt.
All right. So
Please tell me he's a
And-
blast cannon.
And it's at Hailfire 1.
However, it's psionic damage, so it is reduced by his psionic resistance.
It is.
Yes, it is.
And then times 2. So first he rolls, and then reduces whatever he rolls by his psionic resistance, and then multiplies by 2.
And he takes that as damage
He
and
takes
as
that
energy
as
fatigue,
damage
right?
and as energy fatigue. Well,
Well, the two on-
sorry. So what he rolls times 2 Then damage.
No, what he rolls minus his psionic
Damage,
resistance
then
times 2.
Right. Yeah, that is damage.
But there's also also an overload that he suffers as well, right?
Yep. He also overloads for whatever that amount was, whatever the amount he rolled was, and he takes that damage as energy fatigue.
It doesn't say that he overloads in this most recent edition.
Oh, they changed it. I need to.
They might have.
Because overloading is also very
That's
dangerous.
right. Overloading has
Recent
changed
edition.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that under the energy discipline or the telepathy?
It's telepathy.
Telepathy. Yeah. Do feedback.
So yeah. Well, he rolled a 2 on the die.
Which
Now that
plus
sucks.
his
Plus his psionic skill check.
plus his psionic skill check, which is the thing.
However, it's still like as you use this psionic ability, you see his face twitch for a second, and the briefest trickle of blood runs out of his nose. But I'm afraid I have no time to play games with you lot. And as this mass of cables begins to coalesce and form into a gigantic, almost humanoid shape, this mass of technology standing before you, another group of cables and metal shoots up from behind him, envelops him, and then pulls away, and he is gone from the room.
Okay.
Cornix is going to try and
Cornix, if we explode the base, it takes him with it.
furrow a brow and see if he can sense, because that was a very powerful mind. See if he can sense it in any distance or direction from here.
You're sensing it in the exact direction that he moved away, but you're also sensing it west about 20 feet, northeast about 15 feet, south, directly down, up, left, right.
So it's gotten distributed, basically.
You're sensing copies of his mind.
Oh, okay. Fucker.
So I'm just going to announce to the room. Well then, shall we go make the black site explode and leave?
As you say that, this massive golem of circuitry and metal swipes a hand at you. We're going to need to roll initiative now.
Okay, yeah, because Dirk was already was in the process of doing something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
I may be ending this game very shortly.
How much health do you How much health do you gain from durability increase again?
5 plus 5 plus your fortitude score, I believe.
yeah,
And
something like
defensive
that.
training goes up as well. Toughness goes up as well too.
Yeah.
It's like the guy named Rasputin. Yeah, he just dies at the end of this campaign. Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure.
Makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me. Everything goes up by 1.
All right.
My initiative is 21.
Ah,
Yeah,
I
5
should've
plus your
guessed.
fortitude.
Mine is 24.
I rolled a 1.
Well, you were in the
well.
middle. You were in the middle of doing something, so you'll get your first round to go, Dirk. And
Okay.
Then go
Well,
into
I do need a bit of clarification on one thing.
13.
yes.
Because damage capacity could be bad. So what would potentially 200
18.
damage be enough to be destructive to the room as a whole?
Probably. Almost
Okay.
certainly.
Is there a way? So, okay, let me explain what he was in the process of trying to do. So he has 5 fragmentation grenades.
Yeah.
He's going to pull them all and throw them in one, and pull the pins out, throw the entire bag in one direction.
So basically, you're doing the Hellboy Hail Mary.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Is there a place I could throw it, like behind this giant robo thing, that will do serious damage to the room, which I'm assuming would damage these artificial copies, although Dirk doesn't know about that. But his whole point is throwing it behind this thing to blow it up without blowing us up. Is
this
that
thing
possible?
is massive and taking up most of the room. If you could get it around him, it would probably absorb the brunt of the blast, yes.
Perfect.
Slide it between his legs.
Nutmeg.
So don't roll.
I
So-
desperately want to see this happen.
So,
I mean,
Go ahead.
more than likely,
Corey
I'm
thinks
going
this
to
is a
roll
terrible
one.
tactical
Like I
decision,
said,
but Jack
this game
desperately
will
wants
end
to see
in
this
very
happen.
short order.
Mine is
Your
Shazam, by the
medic
way.
your mercy is screaming, and Farrah, stop using rockets in an enclosed space.
Yes. And Dirk is going, I'm Junkrat, bitch.
What am I rolling for this?
let me have a look at your character sheet for 1 second.
Strength athletics?
No,
I'm
it's
sorry,
arranged.
athletics.
Junkrat, that's
Uh,
Farrah's gun. It does self-damage.
I will say, yeah, it'll be your ranged skill.
Okay, my range skill? Okay, so
Just-
plus
just
6.
Try and land it.
Okay.
So aim, and then
Aim
You-
does what for me again?
+2.
Gives you +2.
So I have plus 8 total. So range. Oh, if I roll.
All right,
one-
everybody. Drum roll for the Jeremy roll.
Stop
Ding!
being mean.
18! I
It
rolled
was,
a
it was
10.
an average roll, which means that you did it.
20.
Which means that you did it.
Yes. Take.
So,
Hold on. I need
Yeah,
to look
so-
at this.
how much damage total?
So that is 5 fragmentate. Oh wait. Nah, I didn't think that he would have it, or probably got them, but I didn't think to use them. So 5 fragmentation grenades at 40 damage apiece. Burst 2.
So 200 damage.
Does a frag grenade have any penetration by itself, or is it just your penetration talent?
Probably just my penetration talent, I believe. There's nothing penetration listed in what I've got.
Okay.
Nope, just burst and delay.
All right. So just your penetration talent, which is how much?
5.
Oh no, wait, hang on.
Jesus.
I'm looking at fragmentation grenade right now in the explosives list. That's penetration 5 by itself. So penetration
So
10,
penetration 10, 200 damage.
200 damage at penetration 10.
Fucking A.
Eat it!
So I'm gonna need you to roll me a d20 for the 3 crippling wounds that you're dealing right now.
Headshot! Headshot! Headshot!
So that's a 3.
Leg.
Motivators.
Yeah, of course. That's like the right leg, isn't it? The same leg that we always do damage to.
Well, the legs are all on the same pile now.
Yeah,
So,
but it
both
used
legs.
to be.
yeah, it used to be the right leg. So you slide this belt of grenades underneath this massive creature, and it comes to a halt right beside him as he takes a step in front of you, and you just, with your shotgun, you just lean to one side of him. Say goodnight, motherfucker. Open fire with the shotgun, and there's this chain of explosions that go off behind it as shrapnel and debris fly in all directions, and this thing is pelted by as these detonations chain go off right behind him as he is almost toppled by the force of this. There's smoke curling off of his back, and you're pretty certain that hole that Rasputin left in is now just kind of caved in with debris from the rest of the room. So good luck following him through that tunnel, but this thing is smoldering, smoking, and almost toppled over, but not quite dead. He's looking rough before the first round of combat is even done.
I mean, that's the
He's not
objective.
I got my moment. Oh, by the way, if we need it, I do also have 5 concussion grenades too.
Oh, well, that's good to know also.
Don't worry, I have frag grenades.
Why do you think I bought those way back
I
when?
mean, we also have
Gee,
the...
sure would be nice if we had some grenades. Oh, wait.
Yes!
We've also got 2 Protoss, so...
I
So-
don't know. Maybe you do, but
No, let's
Starting-
just go Archon and just finish this. Jack and I have turned into an Archon.
are you wearing
So,
protection? That's
This has been explained to me as being like Steven Universe fusion.
Yep.
And I'm gonna say, no, Bazaron, consent is important.
In this instance, Vazaran is what's her name? The big yellow one.
Garnet?
Jasper.
Or Jasper,
Jasper.
that one. In this case, Vazaran
Not
is Jasper.
Peridot. Peridot's sweet.
I'm just gonna use this one for the initiative of the creature. It's not actually an adjutant, but
Yeah.
Right now it's an agitated.
After seeing that nice fireworks display, since I'm all the way in the back, I'm just gonna take aim above everybody and let loose with my favorite new toy. So
The siege tank?
You're not still in
I'm
your
gonna
siege
I'm going
tank.
to, yeah. No, I had that thing's already driving itself back.
You gotta be specific when you say favorite new toy.
I know, I've been getting so many lately. Anyways,
You're welcome.
With my sniper rifle, and I'm taking aim, so it's another +2 and 27.
that's gonna hit. I don't have like set stats for this creature. I'm going to say you get. How much overage do you have?
Well, my instinct is 7.
So I'm going to say that you get. I'm gonna set its defense right now at 24, so you get 3 points of overage.
So 3 points of overage would be. Let's see. Since I didn't move, it's 118 minus 12, so 106 points of damage.
Wait,
All right, so
what?
106.
Yeah,
106 points
What
of
did you
damage.
shoot him
Penetration
with?
5.
A sniper
it's a
rifle.
sniper rifle that has 2 barrels.
Is that before or after the hailfire?
That's after. I
That's
think,
with
right?
that's with hailfire.
Okay, so cut.
Remember
so
what
cut
we
that in
said
half.
about power
Yeah.
creep about
That's
an hour?
106. That's 106.
And then modifiers. So okay, so it's 38 plus 3, or yeah, it's 38 plus 7, because that's my instinct, and I didn't move, and I used a scope. So, and then my overage is plus 3.
So 38
So-
plus 10 is 48. Hailfire
Yeah.
1.
48. Then
minus-
first it's armor. What's your penetration?
5.
5. Okay, so minus this
And
much
rending 4.
times 2.
For purposes of critical injuries.
Grand total is 76 point of damage. I'm gonna need you to roll me roll me d20 for your 1 crippling wound.
6.
What is 6?
Legs again.
6 is,
Motivator again, I think.
no, 6 is actions. Drops a one-handed item, -1 to attacks, skill checks, and physically interacting with things. At the end of your turn, it is going to interrupt the initiative for a second and launch a single attack at you. As it's cybernetic, as it reels back, and you see a wall of tendrils spring out from the wall and attempt to ram into you.
Oh, it's
What
going
did
for
I
an
do?
impalement. You shot it.
I mean, I figured it would have gone after the dude that blew it up for 200 points of damage.
Right?
Wait for its turn to get here. That's when it gets to do all of its stuff, not just its legendary actions that I am putting into the system.
Legendary action.
Because you want it to be able to do something before it dies. No, that's fair.
Yeah, you know.
He's like,
I'm going-
I put development work into this NPC, and he's gonna kill someone. God damn it!
Wait, no, you can't kill me this way, because this is just like Wash.
Is this just like that old? Just
It's also it's also just like your character in Gran Terra.
What's your
it's
defense?
just like that
Yeah.
old witch said I was gonna die.
Yeah.
What's your defense?
20.
20? Okay, so that's going to hit you. And that's going to be
Oh shit! Really? Who'd have thought?
all of its strength. Bridge. So that's going to be... Okay, that is going to be... 62 points of damage
Minus resistance.
with penetration 9.
Penetration 500.
Penetration
Hailfire 1.
50,000.
Jesus.
And unstoppable.
So let's see. So that's 9. It's still. What was the damage?
62. Penetration 9. Hailfire 1.
So that's
As a-
58
Man,
times whatever.
it must suck that
Times
it
2.
has way less penetration than I do.
116.
Shit, I'm knocked out.
By
I'm
how
at
far?
100. What's up?
By how far?
15 points.
15. Okay. So what is the combination of your strength and fortitude?
Combination of strength and fortitude is 5.
So minus 5 is 10. So I'm rolling a d20 plus 10 to determine how bad you are hurt.
Let me check.
How
I think
much
I have
dead you
something
are.
for.
It did have a minus
Alright,
1
since
to all of its
there's
attacks.
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, it
plus
did
5,
have a minus
actually.
1
Yeah,
to its thing.
that would have reduced its damage by 2. So
Hey, that turns
That's
it
2.
to. Yeah, that turns it. No, that turns it to, instead of 58 to 56, which is only 112, which is only minus 11.
Really confused. Okay.
Yeah.
all right.
So
So, okay, with that in mind, you've got a.
It'd be a 1d20 plus 6 then.
Yeah, I got it. You have. Where did I lose track of the death and dying rules? There they are. Disfigurement. First, let's see where it was.
It's in the
I predict
chest.
the left leg.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict the left leg because
It was your left leg.
Yeah.
You have
Just
it.
to clarify for our viewers, it is no more likely to get the legs than anything else. Or Jason just magnetically attracted to them even when the system changes.
I mean, to be perfectly
we're like-
fair, that's that's the lowest possible things that you can roll is the leg, and I'm in this game, so
It's
so
not
you have-
Adventure League, that explanation doesn't quite work.
You
Anyway.
have a dislocated leg bone.
I don't need that. I got a tank.
Stabilization requires a DC 20 medicine check performed as a full round action. Trauma kit adds a plus 5 bonus.
Okay. Hey, I did something before I died.
You did. You did a lot of damage before you went down.
Wait a second, he's not dead yet.
Nope, not yet. Just that negative.
As a torrent of metal and sparking electronic wires just blasts through the room like a tunneling serpent, just slams through Oswald and drives him to the ground. Back to Ava.
Oh, hey,
Okay,
it's the
I can
medic's
fix
turn.
this. I can fix this. All right. I'm there. I'm gonna.
You are adjacent to him, so you can take that full round action to stabilize.
Okay.
She's not a miracle worker.
She is close.
She's very close.
In this system, I am a miracle worker, and given that I'm only at like a third of max level, that's saying something. Yeah.
We should amp these characters up to level 3
Oh,
and see how ridiculous
Ava
they
and Dirk are definitely Cornix's two favorites on the ship.
Okay.
get. Really, not me?
I'm sorry, it's not in my macros anymore. What is the stabilize roll?
It's a medicine check.
Okay.
Trauma kit adds a plus 5 bonus if you're using a trauma kit.
Later, love.
I
Okay.
love this group so much.
Now you're talking my language.
I don't think Protoss do that.
No, they don't. Pretty sure they don't.
I don't think they have genitalia.
That doesn't
How do you
stop
get new
anyone.
Protoss, though?
I believe they're just kind of formed like.
They reproduce
Psionic.
by budding.
Ugh.
I think they actually reproduce by cyogenesis.
Oh, okay, cool.
In that they just have sort of like an Asari mind
So you
meld and a new being
blink with
kind of
your
psionic
brain.
brought into
You
being.
realize that's not any less sexual.
Yeah.
No. I mean, not from a... It is from a biological perspective, but not from, like, a
They just-
sociological perspective.
Not
They
from,
just
not
think
from
really
an intimacy
hard.
perspective.
Let's have a kid. And then they just have to
Not
focus
from a
on that.
poli-sci perspective, maybe from your stupid science.
It's not. It's never.
We're gonna have a
explicitly-
talk, Aaron.
It's never explicitly stated how protons reproduce in universe. So I'm gonna go with cyogenesis.
That works.
But it is explicitly stated that they have male-female genders. So
And that they have daughters and sons, because Vorazun is specifically stated as Rashagal's daughter.
God's daughter.
so they
yep.
do reproduce somehow. The question
Okay.
is how.
29 to stabilize.
You definitely stabilize. Now you just need to heal him back above 0 to get him back online.
Yeah, but that was a full round action, so I don't have
They just
anything to do that with.
All right, Koronix, it's your turn.
Okay, here we go. Heavy strike charge. 28
Avenge
to hit.
me.
That hits.
avenge
You
you
get
as you're
4
getting
points
back
of
up.
overage.
All right, so that's 48 damage, rending 6, penetration 8, hailfire 1. Flames don't affect him because he's a construct, right?
It doesn't hit his toughness, otherwise it would reduce his armor.
Okay.
And energy damage. You know what? Just because he has a massive armor rating, I am going to say that he is not actually heavily armored because his internals are all kind of exposed to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get an extra point of hailfire from energy damage.
Nice.
Oh, good.
So that'll be 48 damage, hailfire 2 then. Rending 6, penetration 8.
So how is this thing not dead yet?
We'll
It-
find out.
I
Probably
haven't-
going to be soon.
I haven't
If I
attacked
deal a-
yet. That's how.
Right.
Okay, so 48 minus 7
By attacked, I mean missed.
times 3.
I haven't hit anything the last 2 episodes, by the way.
Well, I don't know if you're going to get a chance to, because Koronix, how do you want to do this?
Oh no, I did get the killing blow on the sentinel. That's right. Never mind.
Do I deal a crippling wound?
Yes. Roll me a d20. To the leg.
Yeah, to the legs again. So yeah, Cornix is just gonna go up, and he's been science-y recently. So yeah, he's just gonna narrow his eyes, look for something that looks like an energy nexus or power coupling, and just excise it as quickly as he can.
All right. So, as this creature has not even really gotten to its own attempt to attack, just what it could do between other people's actions, has immediately pile-driven Oswald to the ground, but then but also been compounded on by explosions and bullets and strikes from every angle. And as it is reeling back from these blows and preparing to bring its massive steely hands up to crush the group of you with its weight,
It's massive Steely Dan's.
Yeah. Oh,
Koronix rushes forward underneath its striking fist and dragging the Psy Spear along its steel contours, just cutting cables as it rushes forward, runs down between what serves as these creatures' legs, slashing left and right, cutting off these, almost hamstringing these metal tendrils that serve as feet, causing it to reel backwards, leaning back. Koronix launches up onto its knee and then up towards its chest and lunges forward, driving the Psy Spear with both hands through the chest of this creature, bursting out the back. There's a burst of crackling void energy as he drives his psionic power through the spear. There's a burst of this shadowy blackish green energy, and then a creaking of metal as it crashes to the ground as dust fills the room with the sheer force of impact.
So it's kind of like the end of The Incredibles.
Kind of.
Yes!
I take a moment to focus.
As you all stand here in the aftermath, Alexander, who never even took a moment to strike this thing, turns and
we kill stealed from the NPC.
turns, and we all stab him too.
Turns and
Vazaran, no more willpower saves.
almost sullenly turns and floats back towards that medical room.
Well then,
Captain Ravenhall.
Fuck
we are the
yeah!
Taskforce Echo. Where is Rasputin?
He's running.
Which way? I can run fast.
He is like me now.
But
You have a
ain't running.
communicator, Captain.
He holds it up.
We are about to sabotage this station. We will keep you apprised of our progress.
Get going.
we're going to blow it all up.
Good.
That is what I said, Vazaran.
I put it in Terran terms for them.
All right. You
I
guys.
turn and leave.
So as you're moving, you move past him on your way back to try and get to the drive core, and as you guys are moving past this area, making your way back, you can't see any sign of the rest of Task Force Renegade, but you can see signs of bloody battle that have driven all across this facility. As you move past the med bay and move on, I would like everyone to roll a perception check.
Hey-o.
As far as I know, I'm still unconscious.
You probably-
26.
roll me a medicine. Roll me another healing.
Yeah,
Ava.
Otherwise,
I
you guys
could've
just
done that, I
left me
just
there.
didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, Ava, go ahead and roll me medicine to get him back online.
There you go. 27's the. So you heal a crippling wound. Or, no, you don't heal a crippling wound, but you heal 27 plus 25 health.
Which is 52.
27 on perception.
I rolled a
23.
4.
Yeah, I saw that. So I get 52 hit points back?
Yeah.
Yep, because I rolled really low.
A 21
That's all right.
for Valzeron.
Yeah, you rolled low and got a 20. So
Actually, it's 28 because I didn't change my macros when I upgraded. Yes. No, I know. Except
get
for the fact that this
53
is the
hit points
only thing Ava can do well.
I got
Oh.
a 40 for perception.
I don't disagree.
I ain't getting hit by
Jesus,
another
man.
goddamn tendril.
So, Dirk, Koronix, Rachel, Oswald, Ava, roll me perception.
Oh,
Was the check 22?
It was.
that's amazing. Sorry, John, but that's amazing.
Missed it by that much.
Valzeron's just off.
8.
And to be fair,
Imagining
it is
everyone.
it is characteristically fitting that you either would not notice or would not care when you notice this.
That's fair.
And Ava also doesn't hear it. As the group of you are walking, just faintly behind you, the sound of a single gunshot.
Oh.
And no,
Nah.
Valzeron won't give a shit.
Doop-de-doop-de-doo.
Neither does Dirk, apparently.
You
I
continue
turn
moving-
around.
You continue. moving
Koronix will
to 5
pause just briefly. Kind of turn his head to the side a little bit.
You, as a psionic, you no longer sense his mind.
Yeah.
Is something the matter, Cornix?
Blink. And then keep walking forward.
This so much of what's going on, Dirk realizes is over his head. Nothing that happens is remotely surprising him anymore.
Time to blow it all up.
So
If
if we're
all of a
walking
sudden
back the way
Valzrak
we
just
came, I
randomly
assume
turned
we're
inside out,
walking
he
back
likes it.
past the child corpse.
You already did that. That was
Okay.
what he. That was where he stopped, and you moved past him.
So,
You make your way. You make
Koronix
your way back
is-
to the drive core.
Yeah, Koronix is looking for the core and trying to
hit-
figure
do we-
out if we...
Do we just happen to
We can
walk over the
sabotage this
bodies
thing.
of the former Task Force Echo as well?
So, on your way through, like I said, you can see the signs of battle basically everywhere. But Oswald, you do notice, as the one who rolled a 40, on your way back through, you spot ever so faintly under several piles of rubble, you see the dead body of what looks like another one of those Project K members, and a hand that is sort of wrapped in the plasteel armored ceramic of an HEV suit. Somewhere else you see what appears to be a medic's power armor. And everywhere you go, you're seeing signs of carnage. You see the extra cybernetic limb of what looks like it was Shawnee's backpack crushed underneath what looks to be the wreckage of several different vehicles. You just are seeing carnage as you move through.
Yep, we kind of expected that.
And
As we're moving through, Koronix is putting through a call to Vera.
Hi. This is Vera.
Adjutant Vera. A log entry. Names of the fallen in battle against the Sons of Creation. Alexander Ravenhall, fallen. Shauna Briggs, fallen. Joshua Lawson, called Nightfall, fallen. Dr. Rayana, fallen.
And as your mind begins to form the phrase of the name Richter, you see a vicious tendril of Zerg biomass rushing through a steel wall with a body attached to it as an individual is crushed against a wall. And you see, stepping forward as that arm slowly retracts, "I'm still here," Richter says as he leaves the broken body of this Project K specimen on the ground.
Good of you to rejoin us.
Someone has to carry on their legacy.
But it's
I
all
can't.
around.
We are to proceed to the drive core and sabotage this installation forthwith. If you would accompany us, we would appreciate the assistance.
Very well. Let's finish
And we
this.
are moving.
Yep. Okay.
Alright, you all make your way back to the drive core. It is still in emergency power as the former primary power source is not there anymore.
And look at Ava and Oswald. If
Can
we
I get a
destabilize
computers
this.
check, a science check, anything?
Science, you can only science.
I know something that would do it, and I pull out a breaching charge.
Let's check. I don't necessarily know if that's gonna actually work or just blow us up.
It's a directed explosion. It'll wreck what needs to wreck to cause a chain reaction. But I will roll science as well to see if that would work.
I
This is
believe that
Terran
we said
technology, right?
that this was alien.
Yeah, it was weird enough that it qualified as alien.
Awesome.
Cool. 14 for me.
16 for me.
So just so, for the record, 14 is my base. 14 is my modifier. 31.
That's
20.
why we like having Ava around. That's
12.
one of the reasons we like having Ava around.
This is the reason why we keep the character who is actively working on insurrection around.
So, Ava and Rachel, you're pretty certain, Rachel, because you spent a lot of time on starships and you know generally how they work. but Ava, because of your strong scientific knowledge in academia, this facility was repurposed to use a psionic individual as a power source, but there's no way they could get rid of all of the pre-existing infrastructure that keeps this place afloat normally. So it's no longer hooked into the normal like fusion reactor that is the typical power supply of a Terran ship, but it is probably still there, and you could probably trigger it to chain react with enough.
Okay. Do I know where the fusion reactor would be?
Probably directly beneath your feet.
Well, directly under here there should be a fusion reactor. It's not currently hooked up, but fusion reactor.
Cornix is already carving out the floor.
To explode. Yes.
You carve a man-sized hole in the ground, and below in the floor directly beneath you can see what looks to be an ancient. Well, not ancient, but older, not a recent model, but an older model of a Terran fusion reactor that would power, like, say, one of the older model battle cruisers.
Hey, that will probably blow up nicely.
I believe your breaching charge placed on that might just have the desired effect.
You do know that you need to bring it back online to where it's actively undergoing a fusion reaction to be properly unstable before it.
Can I science it?
Yeah, roll me science to bring it back online.
Can I assist?
Yeah.
What does assisting do?
Can I blow something up?
Let me put the breaching charge on before the radiation starts happening.
Okay,
fusion would probably not actually cause
radiation.
That much.
Yeah, I know, but
not radiation first, and then.
Oh, if you're afraid of radiation, I can apply it.
Yeah, fusion reactors are generally safe. They don't generate too much radiation, considering the setting and considering the fact that people have to be around them regularly.
Yeah.
Also, I've got protection from radiation, anyways.
Also, if there's a giant glowing space orb, you know that the space Western humans are gonna want to stand right next to it.
Yeah.
How else do you get your picture taken?
Also, it's fusion, not fission. So.
Yeah. I try to make a joke and y'all tear it down.
Both of these.
We just shit all over your humor.
So
I know.
what's happening?
Mount
it's a
bomb.
space microwave. I know it's safe.
You're making a so Ava's making a science check with a bonus or with advantage? I forget how assisting things work.
I believe it's supposed to be a bonus, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to say with advantage.
Okay.
To turn it on.
Okay.
This is not alien.
It's the green button.
This is a very standard Terran.
33.
Yeah, you successfully managed to activate the fusion reactor.
It's this button.
I put the breaching charge on the side.
The inside of the reactor is slowly filled with a soft white light as it comes online.
Well then, we should leave back to your ship.
Yep.
You know that have to stay behind. This is a manual detonation. Just kidding.
You know that detonating a fusion reactor is a lot like setting off a tactical nuke.
Yeah.
None of the background radiation involved with a tactical nuke, but about the same.
But as far as destructive capacity,
we want to be out of here, is what we're saying.
Hang on. There's an accuracy roll to see how
you have flight control of the Akundalar. We may require a pickup.
I can get you around here, yeah.
Is the tank on board?
Oh yeah, the tank's back on the.
Okay, good. I got knocked out and I was a little worried.
The Goliath and the tank are stored. The tank's currently hooked on the bottom of the ship, but
Oswald worries about the important stuff.
I do.
Yep.
If I don't, nobody else will.
It's fair. It's fair.
Would you say, William, at this point that Ava has sort of gotten down generally how to direct her thoughts to talk to Koronix without broadcasting?
Yeah, generally speaking.
Okay. Ava will briefly relay to Koronix what Rachel did, and communicate essentially like a level of skepticism about other things Rachel may have told us in light of this.
Your response is, yes, I witnessed her actions, and rest assured there will be a discussion of some emphatic nature as soon as we are extracted from our current predicament.
All right.
Oswald's going to turn and go, all right, are we leaving now?
Yes.
I think so.
So as you guys are making your way out of the ship, because I had timed this,
It blows up and we all die.
Yay!
you get a call over your communicators.
From who?
Do you pick up?
Hello?
I was going to say, Korinix looks at it.
Click.
Is there caller ID?
Sup?
No, there's not really caller ID.
He'll just
What
answer
up?
it then.
All right, so over the communicators, you all hear Taskforce Echo. This is Hyperion Actual. Matt Horner at the bridge.
Proceed, Admiral.
All right, we've dealt with Black Site 2, and our forces are now in orbit over your location. We have tactical nukes and Yamato cannons at your disposal.
We have a breaching charge on a fusion reactor.
We have what Pilot Oswald Ridley has recently transmitted, but we appreciate having a residual plan in case of unforeseen
I think
occurrence.
I think a Yamato cannon might set off that charge quite nicely if planted correctly, and I will broadcast the exact coordinates of the engine room up to the Hyperion using my communicator.
Mhm.
That's your target, Admiral.
We are
Captain-
mid-extraction and will call when we are at a safe distance.
All right, Captain Korinix, it's your call.
Very well. We are proceeding to the Kundalar and will attempt to coordinate our attacks.
All right. As you guys are leaving the facility, the Akundalar swoops in, and there's the barrage of burst laser fire as it picks off any stragglers who are trying to come and get in your way.
I am running to the boarding ramp.
Yep.
It lowers
Trying to make
itself.
sure.
It lowers itself close enough and lowers the boarding ramp for you to get on. You all run aboard the Akundalar. The ramp raises, and you begin to fly up, getting a bit of distance, keeping an eye on the facility.
As the ship is flying away.
Detonate on my mark.
As the ship is flying away to Korinix specifically. Korinix, do you have any children?
I am ignoring Vazaran currently.
I
Five,
have two. Son and a daughter.
4, 3, 2, 1. Glance at Oswald and point.
Fly forward. No, I'm just kidding. I'll detonate the charge, seeing as how we're far enough away now.
Was that linked up to Matt Horner as well?
Yes, that would have been broadcast open.
All right.
To open one to
All right,
the.
and so as you're doing this countdown, you can hear over the communicator: Yamato cannons, fire at will. 3, in line with your
Right.
counting. 3, 2, 1, and as the detonation of the breaching charge and a barrage of massive energy blasts from above rain down on this facility, this massive, almost mushroom cloud goes off into the air, and everything else goes dark in comparison for a while as the sheer brightness of this light that radiates from the explosion, everything else around you dims just from comparison light. And on the bridge, Richter stands solemnly and puts one hand slowly to his chest. Good hunting, all of you. It's been a pleasure.
Oswald Ridley, please take control of the ship. Activate sensors for residual radiation, and if there is no danger to the Akundalar or its systems, return us to the Black Site's last location. We will require a scanner sweep to determine if Rasputin may have somehow survived.
About that, Horner says on the comm channel, we're picking up numerous escape pod detonations, all of which have active psionic signatures on them. We can't get all of them.
Can you prioritize us to those with the highest level of psionic power contained?
They're all reading as Class 10 psionic waveforms.
Psionic parasite?
Some
Is
of
that
them
possible?
some of them may
what,
be
sir?
decoys.
Class 10 psionic waveforms, those of you know, are the highest Terran catalog of psionic, which is to say Sarah Kerrigan and Novaterra in life.
They may be decoys. This psychic in particular is known to be able to send his thoughts through electronic signals.
Could he preserve
How many can
members
Hyperion
of
and the fleet
himself
account
through
for?
such a method?
Preserve
We
himself?
can-
I don't know.
We can detect roughly 30 escape pods firing. We have the capacity and the speed to catch maybe 15.
Don't catch them, shoot them down.
I think
It's
that
a lot
That was
easier.
implied.
That's included.
Adjutant Vera, of the Akundalar's capabilities, how many could we conceivably account for?
With a well, I'll be honest, a proper escape pod spread is supposed to help disperse the pods to make it difficult for ships to catch. I'm assuming that they've only able to get that many because of the number of ships they've got. We could probably get one.
Understood.
I want to just sort of reach out and telekinetically sense what, like, the escape pods, and see if I can zero in on one that makes that feels more right than the others.
Roll me a psionics check.
Psionics are weird like that.
So I don't know if this would, I guess xenology isn't a thing in this system, but like science or history or something.
33?
Ava's sort of working theory is like some sort of psychically based virus, that these are all potentially duplicates of him. Does that make sense, or would that be...
I mean, you have no idea. This person, Rasputin's psionic ability
Can't make
is...
roll for that. Got it.
You can make a science roll.
Okay.
33.
Can I make a tactics roll?
Sure.
He'd be basically trying to see, because
33.
Koronix probably knows about the ability of certain psionics to project phantoms, right?
Yeah.
I have that ability, if that matters, by the way. I have hallucination. As a-
Hallucination, that's what it's
Yeah,
called.
as a
33.
psionic power.
She's trying to figure out if this could be more than that.
Based on what you know, and go ahead and roll me your tactics, Koronix. Okay, so yeah.
21.
Pooling the three of you's knowledge, this is not any psionic ability you've seen before. It's not a hallucination. It's not a creation of a ghost, an image.
Mm-hmm.
It is the broadcasting of one's brain signal on multiple different locations. It's almost as if he had taken a brain map of himself, including the psionic nature of it, and then had emitters on each of these pods to broadcast his brain map.
So, with a 33, do
Well,
I pick up one that feels
If we assume
real?
that he needs his
Right.
physical body and he is in only one of the escape pods, taking down 50% of them seems reasonable, at least in that it gives us a chance of taking him down.
Koronix, though, will mention it is also conceivable that since these are likely emitters of a technological nature, he may not even be contained on one of the pods. Is there
That
a way
is, of
to?
course, possible.
Is there a way we could potentially backtrack this signal to a point of common origin from them?
We've already tried that, Horner says, coming over the speakers. It looks like he's using whatever his technopathic psionic ability is. It's not something we've seen before, so it's not something we can really track.
Understood.
That's what I'm trying.
We had the same issue when he invaded via the adjutant systems.
So what I'm hearing is we're fucked.
We have a 50% chance of defeating him with the resources at our disposal. Slightly over 50%.
In an optimistic projection, yes.
As Executive Officer Ava Sweet describes, yes.
So we're not fucked?
We have a chance of being, as you say, fucked.
Well, on your order, we'll open fire.
Please do.
All right. I would like each one
direct
of
the
you.
Akundalar to one of the escape pods as well, so that we can at least take down 16 of the 30 and maximize our chances, hopefully.
I would like you to each roll me a d20.
D20.
Just a flat d20.
18.
13.
Look at Jeremy rolling above 10.
17.
Right?
19.
This is going to be one where we had to roll
20.
low.
Natural 20.
11.
11, 13,
We did get a natural 20, though.
20, 19, 18, 17.
I mean,
They're all
11,
above
13.
average.
Now this
That
was
was the best single set of D20s I think that this group has ever
Ever
rolled.
collectively
in one
rolled.
round.
Yes.
Yeah, so this wasn't actually a like roll high or low. This was a I'm looking for a specific number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We had to roll low. Or 12.
We had to roll specific.
It was a one of these numbers is the pod that he's in, and if you don't roll it, you don't get him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
All right.
Technically, a 20 is a 30.
So
I mean, that's going to be the funny part. He's going to be, William's going to be like, haha, I was 25. You never had a chance.
I wouldn't do that to you guys.
Fuck you. My NPC lives.
I wouldn't do that to you guys.
DM's prerogative. Eat it.
At least no one rolled duplicate, so we have the best possible chance.
That would have been
If
great.
one of-
2 ships shooting the same.
Just
one of-
3 natural 20s.
If one of you had rolled duplicates, I would have told you to roll again.
Okay.
But none of you rolled lucky number 7.
Damn it.
So, as you all are watching this barrage of fire, and the Akundalar is opening fire on one of the pods itself, you see these bursts of explosions that are consuming these escape pods as they're flying away. All of these signals remain, and you don't know what that means. The signals that were destroyed in the life pods go out. The remaining life pods that managed to escape into the void, they're off somewhere, and you can no longer track them as they get out of your range.
Mm-hmm.
At minimum, this significantly depletes his resources.
Yes. Should
So-
he attempt to rebuild his cult?
Yes,
Take
sir?
some time, and we know of his existence.
So, what I'm getting from this is we're fucked.
We have achieved a qualified success today. Not a complete success, Dirk Garrick, but a qualified one.
Dirk, you're a combatant. Not every battle is the end of the war.
No, I get that. I get that.
Okay.
That I was just.
We
I'm gonna go get me a
depleted
drink.
the enemy's forces. We forced their leader to retreat. Unfortunately, their leader is very powerful and does seem to have either escaped or managed some sort of thing that might lead to some successor to him.
To be
You know,
fair,
that's
these
right.
signals might just be continuing to broadcast, and he might be dead for all you guys know.
Yeah.
Until you search the wreckage of the pods that you shot down for a body, you won't know.
Right.
I mean,
That is
I
what
just
Ace was trying to
detonated-
communicate, but
I
Sim-
just detonated 5 grenades in an enclosed room, and ain't nobody dead that I didn't want dead. So I'm gonna go get a drink. Excuse me.
Very good.
You go do that.
Crew of the Akundalar, we have made an achievement today. I believe a bit of shore leave will not go amiss. You are dismissed. Rachel Harmon, remain behind if you would.
Alright.
Ava sort of projects to Cornix. If you need me, call. Then I might join you for that drink.
He'll click his communicator over. Admiral Horner, do you wish for the fleet to investigate the wreckage, or should the Akundalar remain behind to do so? That was Admiral Horner.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll we'll comb the wreckage. You guys are, well, you've done your job. You're free to go if you like.
We shall report to Unity Station and await further orders then. Rachel Harmon.
Rachel, you there?
Yeah,
Sarah, can you hear us? Okay.
she's not saying anything.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just not saying anything.
Would you care to describe exactly what your intention for the young boy you were in pursuit of all along was, and why you did not communicate that to us at an earlier date?
No.
As I understand Terran law, what we observed, in lieu of more elaborate testimony, could easily be construed as the murder of a minor and non-combatant. Do you care to dispute these potential charges that may very well be levied in your direction?
No.
Understood. Well, we have a choice then. Do you care to remain with the ship until we make landfall on Unity Station?
Or
exit the ship before we arrive?
wait, not as Rachel, but did we take off?
Yeah, we're in the air
right now.
Oh. Well, I believe the first one would be more contingent with my plan at the moment. The first one would stay on the ship, right?
Yes.
All right, good. All right.
You sure we can land and let you off?
Oh, is Oswald still there?
I'm in the cockpit.
Oh, okay.
He
I don't know where you
guys.
guys. I don't know where you guys are having this conversation.
In the cockpit where we all were, yeah.
Yeah. I'm the pilot,
like
so
the
it'd be
idea
kind
that-
of negligent if I left.
I like the idea that the Protoss just forget that the humans are there sometimes.
We do.
Very well. Please see to the care of your armor, exit it at your earliest convenience, and remain confined to your quarters during the journey.
She leaves.
Okay.
How long does Cornick stay in the cockpit?
Probably about 10 seconds. Then he'll sort of look over his shoulder at Oswald. Just look for about another 5. And then he's going to go to the mess hall and see if he can figure out this drink thing.
Yeah.
You enter the mess hall to see Dirk leaning back. Are you still in full power armor, or have you stepped out of that by now?
No, I would have gotten out of it at this point because, as near as I can tell, we aren't about to blow anything up. So,
All right, so he's
at
in.
some points he has to get out of it.
You in your skivvies or your light combat armor?
Yeah, I don't think he would have put on light combat armor.
He's just there in a pair of
civilian
pants.
outfit.
Yeah.
So you see Dirk in civilian garb, just sort of leaning back, feet kicked up on the table, holding a bottle of some kind of liquid that you assume is alcoholic based on how humans work, just knocking it back.
And Ava with probably also alcohol at the table, also out of her power armor.
So he'll go and he'll find a cup. Just like a glass or a tumbler or something.
Yeah.
Is Dirk drinking directly out of the bottle?
You know, I feel like if we've got stuff in cans available, that's probably more.
Okay, he's got a can?
He's got a can. Yeah.
Okay.
He's got one can with 4 already empty.
Right. As you'd expect, yep.
Yes.
But yeah, if there's a bottle of something, he will pour some in the glass, hold it up, kind of lean over.
Splash himself in the face with it.
I don't have a mouth.
Right. No, he doesn't have a mouth. And then he'll just pour a little bit in his hand and try and absorb it.
I'm
like a
watching. Dirk is watching very curiously.
I just like the idea of you going, splash.
So, you are photosynthetic, which means
Yeah.
you do intake stuff through your skin.
Yep.
I'm gonna say roll me a Constitution check to see how your body
Yes.
handles this.
So just a D20 plus my fortitude?
Yeah.
Ava's sober enough to be paying quite close attention to this.
This can only end in tragedy.
That's a 12.
So I'm gonna leave it up to you how you think a psionic individual would react to the first ever application of 120 proof whiskey absorbed through his skin.
There's probably a jitter, just like a very faint full body spasm, and he'll sort of lean on that unignited psi spear for a minute. And then probably for the first time ever, you guys see Koronix sit down.
Dirk just gives a slow, wide grin, like, yeah, that's the stuff.
Fascinating. And he'll set down the glass.
Don't want more of that, thank you very much.
Yet. Definitely not yet.
Yeah, that's what they always say.
Lecture on the functions of alcohol after I'm done getting drunk.
Because you take a second to be like, what the hell did I just drink? And you pick it up and you look at it. It's this like very old looking, like not like old as in ancient, like old bad alcohol, but like old style, like faint yellowish glass with sort of like a fluted neck. And as you look at the label on the side, it reads Scotty Bolger's Old Number 8 Whiskey.
Yes, Scotty.
120 proof.
God, that's amazing.
So, as the group sits down to think about what has been done, that is the end of this campaign. So, let's talk about each of the characters and where they go from here. Let's start with Koronix as the captain of this crew. Where do you see your fate ending up for right now? You're still part of this task force, remind you.
Koronix would probably try and collate his various findings. His first priority would be to transfer all of his memories of Cass and Verasan to a memory crystal and pass along both the location of the Tomb of the Ancients and that information to the archivists, probably through Carax. And then, looking at what he's been through, start to pursue a more rather recording facts and history type of scholarly pursuits, much more of an investigative, proactive mode, with the intent of trying to form information networks so that if and when Rasputin ever rears his head again, Koronix is well informed and positioned to
Would you retire?
another team.
Would you retire from the task forces, or would you just simply lead
not
Task
if-
Force Echo in that direction?
He would just try and, if he's allowed, he will lead Task Force Echo in that direction.
As a member of the task forces and as the leader of one of the task forces, you are given fairly free reign on your assignments.
Okay, so yeah, that's what he would be doing, basically trying to continue the hunt.
All right. And what about Ava, our longest member aside from Oswald and Koronix?
Ava would probably stay with the task force at least as long as she was useful, given her academic background. Potentially, I mean, like the spy training that every the Imogen child gets, but not like the spy training of someone who's actually good at it. Potentially offering some level of assistance in that department as well. She probably also does her best to, without obtruding on the proceedings, keeping up with any ongoing court trials for current and or former members of the group. I am looking at everyone except for Coronix as I say this.
Hey, Dirk did nothing.
Oswald did nothing.
I said I'm looking at all of you, not that all of your characters have done something.
Oswald did nothing.
Oh, my character did something, just not Dirk.
Okay, we all know that's a lie. But Ava would not expect anything negative to come of Core Wolf 1.
So, then we go to Oswald as the other longest founding member of Taskforce Echo.
Yeah, I don't know. He would probably leave, and I want to say he tried to steal his ship for himself.
We wake up one day, where's a ship?
Not the Akundalar. They could have that, but like.
I mean, if you ask based on your reputation record, you would probably be given a race superiority fighter if you wanted one.
I was thinking probably something along either that or a Viking. And
like whichever one you wanted, you would get.
Probably the Viking then, because he just take that and he's gonna fly solo for a little while, and if nothing happens with Rachel, he will probably track her down and shoot her. Because he does not. The only reason he didn't there is because there was other people on board, and he didn't want to put a hole in the ship.
And Rachel, would you mind, not only for my edification, but for the chat's edification, explaining what your original purpose was hunting this child down, and then where Rachel goes from there?
Teddy was he was a psionic who had killed a bunch of people back in her hometown. And then when he got taken, she kind of was like, well, might as well go handle that problem. So yeah, she did lie a lot to get onto the ship and to get going where you guys were going.
That's amazing.
He killed Rachel's boyfriend. I mean, he killed a bunch of people in her town. He was not a good kid, guys. As soon as the ship lands, Rachel is she busts out of there. She disappears. If you want to track her down, Oswald, that's fine. She'll buy you a drink and explain what she did and why she did it.
I don't think he'd get close enough to let you explain. He's a sniper.
I'm not gonna come up to you. I'm not gonna come up to you, but if you find me, that's more of your your priority. Otherwise, she disappears. She changes her name and her hair color, and she just goes off and does what she's been doing, which is odd jobs quietly.
Yeah, so as it turns out, the kid had a bit more of that kid who pulls wings off ants kind of thing, but psionic.
Yeah. Okay.
He was a killer, and she tracked him down, and she found him and did what she needed to do. So I'm sure that no one on her hometown ever gets word that she's done it, but the fact that she doesn't come back is probably enough of a checkmark to them.
All right, and then going.
Sorry, guys.
Going in order
just kind of wanted to see all your faces when I blew your mind, and only half of my video feeds are working, and I can't see Jeremy, William, or Jack, so I'm guessing it was amazing, but I didn't get to see it.
Oh, there was some amazement. That's for damn sure.
I saw the other three, and that was good enough. So
top notch, Sarah. Top notch.
Dirk.
Long con there.
What does Dirk go up to?
So Dirk, first of all, he's such a follower. He will completely stay with the task force.
Yes!
There is no way he doesn't, because this is bad. First of all, he was finally with a military group that survived a mission. He was not the sole survivor of his mission. Ridiculously dumb luck. So it's people he actually can get to like. And he doesn't really have any thoughts of ambition on his own or any real goals. He lives to serve as part of a unit. So, and he's got a unit here. And my hope, and this is my headcanon, is that the next season, so to speak, involves going up against the new big bad of Stefan. But that's just me, who like does this trying to go out and kill all the former members of the team.
Then Ava gets to be like, I was right. Sorry.
But that's my headcanon.
Yeah.
And then Vazaran.
So, I have a question that I have to ask Oswald. Because Vazaran didn't leave the cockpit because Vazaran's not a member of the crew of the Kundalar, so that whole conversation happened while she was like communicating back with her crew. And so she would have asked Oswald what that was about.
What about
the whole
me asking if he was going to leave?
No. Vazaran would have asked Oswald what the conversation between Cornix and Rachel was about.
Yeah, Rachel shot a kid.
Okay. Because the part of the conversation that Cornix ignored was Vazaran trying to tell him that, you know, she was just trying to have a conversation because that's just the kind of person she is. She does have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. And so after having that conversation, she would have left, but not before putting the psychic impulse into Rachel's brain to kill herself in her room.
Whether or not that succeeds, that's something for the future. But
you know what? Either way, Rachel's fine with it. She doesn't care. She did what she was supposed to do, and she's done.
So, all of you, having either gone your separate ways or staying with the group, all of you either flying solo, staying as a task force, doing your own thing.
Pirate
some
Queen.
of you might get
dead.
Some of you might get killed.
Some of us might.
However, you are all fairly certain, and the confirmation does come back some days later. Rasputin is still out there. He is still alive somewhere in the galaxy. And it may take him some time to build up a new following or even a new undertaking. But the man with psionic control over machinery and a penchant for not dying is still somewhere out in the galaxy doing who knows what, who knows where. But this is perhaps the end, for now, of the Chronicle of Taskforce Echo. Who knows if we'll return.
And we have been Final Show Films. We produce a wide variety of content every day of the week. You can check us out on our website at finalshowfilms.com. You can also check us out on our Patreon page at patreon.com/FSFilms. If you'd like to support us financially, you can do so there. Thank you to all of our patrons, especially our $25 tier supporters, Chris Comfort, Antitonic, and Cat Waterflame. Thank you all very much. Thank you also to everybody watching on Twitch and to all of our Twitch subscribers. We appreciate you guys. Remember, we are Twitch affiliates, so you can subscribe to us here. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can use that free subscription you get, that free $5 subscription you get, to throw it our way. We appreciate that. We appreciate all of you guys for watching and supporting us. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you guys too. And thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing below. Coming up next week in this time slot, we begin Grand Terra Rebirth. I will take all of these, well, most of these lovely people, back to the land of Grand Terra, as it is reformed after the chaos of the previous campaign, and something's not quite right. So look forward to that. We'll be going back to the realm of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons and Grand Terra next week. Also remember, in 2 days, we have our 24-hour stream here on the channel. Be sure to tune in here, 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're going to be starting off with some Overwatch. Then we're going to be leading into some Magic the Gathering, followed up by Changeling. and then some more Let's Plays, a one-shot in Taldore run by Aaron over there, and then finally wrapping up the 24-hour stream with some Cards Against Humanity, who I still need people for, by the way, the rest of you on the call.
Maybe. It's
maybe.
a matter of I need to sleep that night, too.
I don't.
So we'll see.
I worked that
I'll be
day.
there.
Anyways, so we're going to have some Cards Against Humanity that evening.
Sleep deprived is the best way to do Cards Against Humanity.
It is!
Yes, it is.
Especially
Sleep
at the end
deprived
of
and drunk.
especially at the end of a 24-hour stream. It's going to be great. So yeah, come
Please
hang-
tell me you have some sort of safety net in place, like your wife's going to be around or something in case
Nope.
you get really injured.
No,
He does have a safety net in place. Gabriel will talk him down if he needs to.
This is my third time doing a 24-hour stream, so I'm actually used, actually fourth, but I am used to the rigors involved. So, but yeah, so thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hi.
Later.
Bye. For one
Bye.
Oh yeah, wait, sorry, I forgot. FullOneMedia.com. We thank
I
them
put it
too.
in the chat. I put it in the goddamn chat.
Everybody, take your buyback. Yib.
Jeremy, tell the good folks about FullOneMedia.com.
ForOneMania.com. It's a pop culture site that caters to everything that geeks could be interested in, whether you're interested in movies or television, comics, wrestling, music, video games, mixed martial arts. We cover all of that with news, opinion, commentary. If you want to go to the site this weekend, you'll find things like discussion of whether the Alien franchise could be saved with a reboot, or the latest news on the Super Troopers sequel. All of the latest news from WWE in terms of Paige's status. All of the stuff regarding John Jones and challenging Brock Lesnar. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything, and
Wait,
of course,
Martian
all
Manhunter's a
financial
wrestler
stuff.
now?
He always was.
He's an MMA fighter.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, all Final Show film stuff as well. It's ForOneMania.com. Check us out.
And now we'll see you all next time. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Fuck Nuggets.
Wow.
Goodbye.